From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
Max Lancer, Johnny. DA's office. How is she?
Pretty weak. The hospital staff are doing all they can for her, but they don't give her much hope.
Has she been able to talk?
No, not yet. Maybe not ever. It was ground glass, all right. The doctor's sure of it now.
The same as her husband. Why, Johnny? Why her?
I'll guess with you.
Maybe she figured we were closing in on her, that the game was over and took this way out.
We had nothing on her, Max. Suspicion, that's all we were going on. She'd had 2 husbands in the last 3 years. Both of them died from the effects of ground glass poisoning. And both times she goes for $50,000 insurance. That's all we had to go on, and it wasn't enough.
But maybe she didn't realize that.
I can give you a better theory.
Okay, sound off.
Somebody tried to murder her.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. From Special Investigator Johnny Dollar, location Chicago, to the Home Office, Northwestern Surety Company, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, The Lonely Hearts Matter. Expense account, final page. Item 15, $2.60. Sandwiches, cigarettes, and incidentals, which I had sent up from a lunchroom across the street from the hospital. It was evening again now. I'd spent the whole day in the lounge down the hall from the room where Mabel Burke Wells was fighting for her life. Fighting and slowly losing. I'd tagged her as a murderess, responsible for the deaths of 2 of her husbands. But then she herself had been struck down by the same poison. And now only she had the key to the puzzle. A key she might never give up.
Calling Dr. Kenworthy. Dr. Kenworthy.
Mr. Dollar?
Wanted in delivery room.
Oh, hiya, Creeley.
Any change yet in my aunt's condition?
No, I just talked to the doctor. If anything, she's even weaker.
She didn't even recognize me. I've been in the room off and on all day. She didn't even know I was there.
Well, she's in pretty bad shape. Sit down. You look a little rocky yourself.
Thanks. I feel that way. Aunt Mabel's been a real mother to me. This is quite a shock.
Yes, I imagine.
Doctor says it's the same thing that killed Jonathan.
Yes, that's right.
Well, that just doesn't make any sense, Mr. Dollar.
Say, tell me something. Did anyone come to the house to see your aunt? Either last night after Lancer left or this morning before I got there?
Not as far as I know. Why do you think someone might have?
I don't know.
She'd already gone to bed when I came in last.
Yeah. Well, Creeley.
Get your hands up, Dollar.
Huh?
One move from you and Norma gets a bullet right in the back.
Let go of me.
Into the closet, Dollar.
Don't
Go on.
be a fool, Creeley.
Hurry up. Move. Go on. Now, remember one thing, Dollar. I'm taking Miss High and Mighty here along. If they get me, then she goes, too.
The The door was solid, built to last. It took me several minutes to smash it open. The nurse in the corridor said Creedy and Norma Wells had gone down in the elevator. I grabbed the floor phone and called the main desk in the lobby. They said some man and a girl had just stolen an ambulance from the emergency driveway and headed west onto the Lakeshore Parkway. And at that moment, Max Lancer stepped off the elevator.
Johnny, what's going on?
Back to your car, Max. Come on. We could hear the ambulance siren for a while somewhere up ahead of us, then we lost it. Max kept the red light flashing and the accelerator on the floorboard. The speedometer needle edge past 85, touched 90, and hung there. We were 9 miles